Hey, Mike. So, where are you calling from?
I am just outside of the Baltimore airport. We're playing Frederick, Maryland tonight, which is the Frederick Fair.
And so I read where you just released this Made in California box set, and I'm curious what made you want to do another, compilation of music.
Well, our record company, Capitol Records, got acquired by Universal Music Group, and I think they were, they've been contemplating a box set for a while now. And what they did is they went through all of our stuff. I mean, all the archival stuff, and found several recordings and versions of recordings that had never been released before. So they came up with this yearbook concept, and it's quite an attractive package anyway. And they have, I believe they have, 50 or 60 unreleased masters on there. One of which we're doing in our show these days. It's called Going to the Beach. It's a song we recorded back in the late 70s when we were doing an album concept called Keeping the Summer Alive, a song that my cousin Carl wrote with Randy Bachman of BTO. Anyway, so yeah, Going to the Beach is something we're playing in our show. It's really catchy, and it's a neat song. I can't believe we never played it before, but then we'd recorded a bunch of songs for the album, and that one just never made the album at that time. And here it is now. We're playing it years later on our shows, and it's on the box set. So it's a fun song too. We're doing Going to the Beach into Surfing USA for our encore.
And so it must be kind of a unique thing for you to have sort of like, a brand new song like that. I mean, you had the new album a few years ago, but you're usually performing songs you've been performing for a long time. So it must be kind of a cool thing to be doing.
It's really nice to do something that people have never heard before, and it goes well with everything else we're doing too. Another thing we're doing, which we haven't done in years, is we're doing Wild Honey, which is a great song. It rocks. I mean, our drummer is John Cowsill, the youngest member of the family group, the Cowsills, who had some big hits in the late 60s, early 70s. And he's an amazing drummer, but he's also an incredibly good singer. He tears it up on that song. So that's kind of neat. We're doing that song, which we haven't done in years, and I think some of the longtime fans are pretty pleased to hear that one added back into our set list.
And last year you had the big celebration for the 50th anniversary. So what was that experience like to be marking that milestone?
Well, I mean, it made sense. I mean, 50 years as a group is a long time, Of course, Brian Wilson my cousin Brian has his own group and has been touring for maybe a decade and a half his way with a really good group that he has. And I've, of course, been touring with Bruce Johnson and John Cowsill and my son Christian Love and the rest of the guys in our band, and we do our thing. But it was great. We got a chance to be together in the studio and come up with an album, as well as do some pretty high-profile shows. Unfortunately, that kind of configuration costs a lot of money. It was a lot of musicians involved, a lot of production costs involved, and it precludes you from doing a lot of things that I like to do. Some smaller venues and theaters, well as fairs like we're doing tonight, and so it was good, and it was also limiting. So we're back to doing things the way we've been doing them for the last decade and a half ourselves.
Is there any chance you'll perform again with Brian and Al? I think people were excited to see you guys all together.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, they're Al's joined Brian on some shows, and so they're doing some stuff together. And I hear they went in the studio together, but so they're keeping active, and so are we. So, but there's no plans for any getting together at this point in time. I haven't heard any anyway.
But are people, I mean, was there any kind of a rift or just sort of sounds like a business decision or?
Well, I don't know. There's just different ways of doing things, different philosophies, different ways of touring, I mean, you're limited by if you have that big a cost to where you can go and what you can do. So.
And so now that you have crossed the 50-year mark, what keeps you out there, and what do you think about the future? What do you still want to do as the Beach Boys?
Well, the Beach Boys is a phenomenon. I mean, their music has been popular for so many years, and it seems like every year there's another Beach Boys song in a major motion picture soundtrack or two, and we're one of the most performed groups on classic radio, oldies radio. The Beatles, the Beach Boys, and all the Motown acts are the most performed at oldies radio. So we're always in the public ear somehow. And when you're a musician and when you're a songwriter and singer, and you've had the good fortune to have a lot of great hits, and people will still want to hear them, it's kind of second nature. I grew up in a household that had a grand piano, an organ, and a harp, and music was just a daily reality in our lives. And on special occasions, we'd all get together. The families would get together, the Wilsons and the Loves, and my mom was one of 8 children, and her brother was Murray Wilson, the father of Brian Dennis and Carl Wilson. So we were always getting together for Christmas parties, Thanksgiving, for birthday parties, and just recitals of various types of music. And so, it's just been a lifelong pursuit is music. Of course, my cousin Brian and I are about a year apart, and we grew up together singing Everly Brothers songs and the doo-wop songs, and he became a big fan of the Four Freshmen and broke down their harmonies, and that, we learned a few of those arrangements. And so that's the thing that's always distinguished the Beach Boys, I think, from so many other groups, is the refined harmonies. There's a definite sound there. And that, along with, creating some songs that really caught on, it's allowed what otherwise would have been a hobby to become a profession, and a long-lasting one, too. And not just in the United States. It's pretty amazing. We get, we've gone to Australia and South Africa and all over Europe, Japan. Our music has taken us all around the world, which was kind of a theme of the song California Girls in 1965, which I wrote the words and Brian came up with the music. So, it's just, it's kind of like Tony Bennett is, 87 now? And he's at the top of his game. He sings great, and people love his style, his music. And it's a similar thing with the Beach Boys. Our music has stood the test of time, and people still love it. Multiple generations will come out to see the Beach Boys, and grandparents and grandchildren and everybody in between. So it's a phenomenon. It definitely is, but it's a blessing also for those of us that grew up, appreciating music and singing and playing and just for the sheer enjoyment of it, and are blessed enough for it to become a livelihood. No, it's, if you think about it, it's a pretty special thing. I mean, they're not a whole lot of people who get to do what we've done for the amount of time we've done it and to achieve the level of success we have, even in spite of our less than perfect situation. There's dysfunctionalities in my cousin Dennis. He got involved with alcohol and various drugs, and his life ended way earlier than it should have. And of course, my cousin Carl, he passed away 15 years ago of due to lung cancer. I mean, he started smoking when he was like 12 years old or something. And those are, tragedies and things that are really awful to deal with emotionally and stuff. But then every family has issues, so what you got going there?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Every family has issues, and we certainly had them as well. And the biggest negative was for me along the way has been the drug use that some of the guys got involved with, and certainly didn't help things. But the overarching story is the Beach Boys music has meant so much to so many people, and we continually get feedback and compliments and remarks from people that how their music has really given them so much pleasure over the years, or gotten them through some hard times. And people that served in Vietnam have said lots of times how their music was like brought them a sense of home. And one guy even said, "Well, thank you for saving my life." I mean, just some amazing, feedback from people, which makes you feel good that you've done something that meant something to people and gave them a source of pleasure and happiness.